So now we're going to look at cotton for the fall and winter. So let's start on the woven side. So Linda, what's the big story that you have to show us for the runway?
Okay. Well, who doesn't love a good corduroy?
I love a good corduroy.
I know. And you are going to be shocked with how creative people, much like the stripe, how people are getting so creative. Designers are utilizing cotton corduroy in so many unique and beautiful ways. The first way, as we see, is very high end. These gentlemen look amazing. They have their cotton corduroy suiting on. I love on the left-hand side that plum color of the corduroy. It's just so rich and beautiful. And then on the right, we have a whole complete corduroy look, which is amazing. Here we're seeing suiting again, but in a much more relaxed way. More everyday, maybe wear it to the office, maybe wear it on the weekend. Again, what I do love about this also is the color selection. You have your typical tan, but then you have your green, you have almost like a periwinkle color, and we're taking vintage inspiration here as well. A little bit of a 70s vibe on some of these silhouettes.
It was definitely a big thing in the 70s, but what goes around comes around, right?
It's not the first fabric I think of when I think modern or dressy.
It could be all those things, and that's what we're seeing. And how about outerwear? Look at these guys here. I love the variation. The lady on the left is utilizing this corduroy, and the look is very kind of Victorian almost, like a little bit romantic. And on the right-hand side, we're seeing a bigger whale corduroy and using that in a beautiful outerwear piece. Look at this, ladies. I mean, this is the piece de resistance, as they say. This gorgeous corduroy dress. Look at the sleeves. It's dramatic. It's beautiful. And like I said, we're using it every which way.
I think the cotton satin on the bottom is really pretty as well. It's very unexpected.
So let's look at the fabrics that we've brought here. Yvonne, can you talk a little bit about how these corduroys have been modernized and like how the structure of the fabric itself can contribute to that warmth and comfort?
Absolutely, and this is another one, and shame on me for not knowing the year. However, it was developed hundreds of years ago, and it moved in different time frames. It was super like elegant aristocracy, and then it moved into being more like workwear, and then it developed into a fashion thing. Think about in the 70s, all the hip hugger cords, and now you can find cords everywhere. But I just think it's an excellent winter fabric because of the pile, and the way it's woven is very unique, very special piece of equipment that it's done on. But just because of that raised pile surface, that's what lends that warmth to it. But let's look at some of these fabrics that we have here. We've got about 3 different groupings, and we're going to look at this just really vibrant color first, Linda.
I love this color.
Yeah, so just this one, just again more, it's a little bit of a wider wale. And that's when I talk about, just these vertical lines, it's called wales. And you can go from a very, very fine pinpoint wale all the way to something really, really thick that we'll show you in a second. But this sheen is something that's really beautiful and ubiquitous of a corduroy. So we've got that one, but then look at this one, going a little bit wider wale in this case. Just put this little guy out of the way. But here, this is kind of one when we're looking at, we're showing some really beautiful fabrics, but also want to talk about ways where you can, especially as brands, retailers out here in the audience, looking at this stuff, how can we make this maybe a little bit of a less expensive fabric? So taking a white corduroy, and this is a digital print. So again, it takes shorter yardages, but it was created with this speckle effect. It almost looks like a novelty yarn, but a really nice look with that white contrast coming through. And then going another way is with this matte look. So again, we had that really nice sheen with the corduroy, but in this case, this was a yellow corduroy, and then it was printed just on the wide wales with a matte pigment, and it gives a marbleized effect and a really just different look to it.
I've never seen it like a printed wale like that.
And it really changes the character of it. And then here, really looking at texture. And I think you envisioned a 3D garment out of this one.
That's right. We showed that, I think, for the women's market.
Yes, in a jacket. And as we saw on the runway, this is the perfect option for an outerwear piece. And we love how it's so distinctive and, in a way, dramatic with these wider wales.
The wider wales, but also the frosted effect. And that's going to really speak to some of the trends that we're going to talk about later in this little talk. Next, we have sculpted.
Yes, very geometric motifs, which is kind of interesting, a little bit unexpected.
Yeah, it's like taking the corduroy and then giving it a little bit more interest, textural interest. And these diagonal lines that you see, that was actually etched with laser technology. So that's like one of the more modern technologies, typically used for denim. If you think about denim and the whiskers that you can see on denim, usually that's done with brushes and stones and all that kind of thing. But lasers actually can be used to take color away or etch into a fabric. Then, so that was a really interesting way, a really good interpretation of how to utilize lasers. And then here, more of a box effect, more of a grid design. Again, achieved that same way, utilizing lasers. So you're not using a jacquard piece of equipment that would be a whole lot more expensive.
This would be a fabulous suiting fabric for menswear.
Agreed. This one's really interesting,
Yes,
Linda.
this is a Dobby construction, and again, the color selection being really important. I love the baby blue and the contrast with the black yarn, and it was made into a shacket, I believe. And it's a very unusual fabric to pick for that kind of silhouette, but it works so well. And really, the silhouette is kind of simple. And that's good because the fabric is the star.
Yes, absolutely.
Here we're really talking about sort of novelty effects. We picked fabrics that have very interesting color combinations, different types of yarns. For example, this fabric here, look at this coral fabric. I mean, how beautiful is that? It's a dyed Dobby construction. And think about how wonderful this would be for the women's wear market, the children's market. I can see it in so many different end uses.
Tell me about this one. It's pretty bright and bold.
Yes, I love these two, and exactly, they're bright and bold. This gives me a little bit of a 90s vibe, I'm just gonna say. But
I don't remember.
Some of us do remember, Kate. As you were being born, I remember the grunge era.
All right.
But this kind of feels like that to me, but it is a little bit more on the higher end side because we are incorporating a lot of different constructions in this fabric. So we have the corduroy, we have a twill, and just that dark background with these sort of brighter colors really works beautifully. You have that nice contrast.
These are so lightweight as well.
And that's the best thing about them. They are shirting weight. So you can make a fabulous menswear shirt out of all these that I'm showing you right now. And again, as I said, the weight of the fabric, you can see how gorgeous this
It's beautiful
is.
on the face with
Yes.
the cord over the plaid.
The reversible character of this one is really
Think about
very
rolling the
interesting.
cuff or the collar having that, the contrast.
All the versatility.
And what do we have at the end here? That doesn't even look like a corduroy from
These
here.
are corduroys, and they're just giving me personally like a sort of like English countryside feel. They look almost like tweedy, to be honest with you, but these are also yarn dyed Dobby corduroys, and they have just a little bit of distinction. The colors being a little bit more rich, but they are fabulous for suiting for both menswear and women's wear.